welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a Morning Magpie, little short news story videos really about anything concerning Newcastle United. Weirdly enough, there's a news story here that isn't really about Newcastle United. There's a little hidden Newcastle United element within this story. So we're going to get stuck right into this in a minute. Just before we do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We'd love you to come and join us. We're on just under 2,560 subs, I think. So loads of room for you here and evermore. 2 live shows Mondays and Wednesdays, and pop-up videos just like this Morning Magpie news video you're about to watch. So click the button, you won't regret it. So what we're talking about a potential, well, it's not a potential, it's a definite Newcastle United target and has been for some time, and the state of his current employers, his football club, Leicester City. Yes, so the brilliant Swiss Ramble, if anyone hasn't seen Swiss Ramble on Twitter, incredible the stuff this person puts out. I don't know who it is, but my God, the detail they have is incredible. Mark will put a link hopefully in the video below for you to click and look through this. But Leicester in a little bit of money trouble, as we kind of already knew. There's various different spreadsheets and outlets and everything else here in terms of the losses that Leicester are in. But I think it's over 300 million quid's worth of losses in the financial books that they've done. Now, the rules for FFP in the Premier League, I believe you can lose up to 105 million over a 3-year period. So I think Leicester may be kind of there or thereabouts in that, but they're on the UEFA watch list for the money that they've been losing in Europe as well, which is another issue. So there's 2 separate kind of financial legislations that clubs have to follow and adhere to, or they can get themselves in serious trouble. Now, Wolves did this and they got a bit of a slap on the wrist and a bit of a fine, so it wasn't anything massive. We saw what happened with Manchester City, so maybe it won't be anything too dangerous for Leicester. But the big story here really is, I mean, it's been known for quite some time that Leicester are in financial trouble. They haven't really invested much in the playing squad. They had to sell before the bought. Brendan Rodgers was obviously very frustrated. They sold Wesley Fofana to Chelsea. They didn't really reinvest that money, and that was kind of used to help the club get back on track, so to speak, for the financial outlay. They spent big on a training facility as well, which I think all these things do count within your FFP as well. The only things that don't count, I think, is your women's team squad. There's a couple of other things as well, but Leicester have definitely got themselves in a bit of a problem here. And it's really sad, actually, because Leicester have done everything that all of the clubs want to achieve. I mean, back in 2016, they won the Premier League totally out of the blue. An unbelievable story. I'm so glad that I was able to be of an age in football just to enjoy that Cinderella story take effect. But almost off the back of that, Leicester have had to go up into an echelon, into a world, or into a position that maybe their club isn't sustainable, or the sustainability isn't there for them to belong to. They've had loads of issues as well. I mean, obviously the tragedy of the death of their owner as well. I'm sure that's not helped with the situation of the club. But they had to spend more. They had to invest more in the squad. There was probably wage negotiations, appearance fees, bonuses, everything else for these players. They won the FA Cup as well in the last few years. But Leicester have gone from being in the top 6, and they've really slipped down in the league, and that's really cost them. It's cost them in TV revenue. It's probably cost them as well in terms of the pull of player that they can bring in and everything else as well. But the weirdest thing with Leicester, and I've never got my head around why they're doing this, and then reading the Swiss Ramble report and seeing how much shit they're in money wise, it made me scratch my head even more. So they've dug their heels in and they've hung on to James Maddison, who's their prize asset. Newcastle United, no secret, we were trying to buy him. We bid 40 million, they knocked it back. We bid 45, I think they knocked it back. They wanted 50. I think then they were talking about 60. Yuri Tillemans, they could have got 15 or 20 million quid for him in January. He's going to go for fuck all in the summer. It makes no sense. Yes, they'll get him off the wage bill, but they'll have to outlay on a player to sign to replace his quality in the team. So that they really are in a bit of a state, Leicester. And it is a shame to see, because I quite like them as a club, and like I say, they're a bit of a role model really for other clubs who were beneath the greedy 6 for so long that they could just shatter the glass ceiling and get in amongst it. So it's a real shame to see this happening to them. But the squad isn't getting any younger either. Obviously, those stars of 2016, most of them are gone. They sold Mahrez for big money, sold Kante for big money. Vardy's a shell of the player he used to be. Wes Morgan was, put out of pasture. So they haven't been able to sustain that unbelievable, Cinderella moment. They probably could have done with some serious investment, I think, in the team to try and get them back up. But they've obviously hit with COVID. We've all been hit with COVID as well. But the match day take as well. The match day take is quite low in comparison to a lot of other teams. I think they when they've got a full gate, I think they're only 22 million quids worth of gate money, in comparison to people like Spurs and West Ham. Even I think they're closer to 100 million because they've got 60,000 seater stadiums. We're 56 as well. We'll be right up there as well. I think our match day take is nearly 30 million quid. So Leicester are really struggling on many fronts here, I think. And I suppose the reason I'm talking a bit about it, I'm no financial wizard, so definitely check the link to Swiss Ramble below and get stuck into it. If you can keep up with it, because it certainly spun my head a little bit. I felt a little bit like the Wolf of Wall Street at one point, reading all these numbers, beating the old chest. But I think the biggest thing we want to talk about here, and the reason that we brought it up on a Newcastle United podcast channel, is that now this is out, now the secret's out there, this might give Newcastle United a bit more bargaining power to go for James Maddison in the summer, because Leicester need some money, and there's no doubt about that. They need to balance their books. Kieran Maguire, I think, was on a Leicester podcast last month, and he tried to pour a little bit of water on it. And he said it's not maybe as bad as all that, but I do think that the Leicester need to cash in on the next big asset. And if you look at that squad right now, the next big asset, without a shadow of a doubt, arguably the only big asset left is James Maddison. There's nobody else really. Probably Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes will be the next one on the conveyor belt. But Swiss Ramble ended his brilliant dissection of Leicester's financial problems here with saying, in short, the priority is for them to stay in the league, which they should do. I think in terms of the league position, I'll just check in a minute. But it said, looking ahead to the summer, it'd be no surprise if they sell James Maddison and then they look to comply with financial regulations. That's a dark summer ahead for Leicester, losing one of their best players, arguably their best player, and then obviously trying to consolidate. It's not what you want to hear when you've been up winning leagues and winning FA Cups. I mean, Leicester are sitting in 16th on 24 points. They're close, mind you. They're only they're joint with Bournemouth. They're 1 point off Leeds, who are second bottom. So yeah, fucking hell, Leicester could be in big trouble here. I mean, if they do go down, they'll have to sell Maddison next to nothing really. Tielemans leaves on a free. Harvey Barnes, people have come sniffing for him as well. I think his name's been linked to Newcastle United as well. But yeah, it is a shame to see Leicester City in trouble financially. But we just thought this was really interesting in how it might play out in terms of the James Maddison saga. The saga could be coming to an end. I'm a little bit concerned that maybe Newcastle United have fucked around too much with playing hardball with the offer, and maybe someone like a Spurs will come in the summer and give Maddison an opportunity, maybe even Liverpool if they haven't been bought, and they're looking for maybe the one down from Bellingham. I know Maddison's probably a fair bit down from Bellingham, to be fair to Bellingham and Maddison's qualities, but I think there will be competition for Maddison's signature in the summer. I just hope that he's bought into the Newcastle United project. I hope Newcastle have stayed in touch with him as best as they can, without tapping up. And I really hope that he is in a black and white shirt in the summer. But looking at these Leicester City financial reports, I think this is the sign of the times for a lot of clubs. I think COVID, like businesses, has caught people. There's massive holes in their business, and like it or not, football clubs are businesses, and I think these things do come home to roost. Yeah, so by the looks of it here, I think just squeaking by in the Premier League, but obviously if they get relegated, they're totally fucked. But they're really dancing close to the edge there. So yeah, I think there will definitely be a Maddison sale from Leicester City in the summer, and I really hope that he comes to Newcastle United. But let us know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you think that these financial reports on Leicester City from Swiss Ramble and maybe showing that Newcastle will right to dig their heels in. Will we right to dig in, or should we have went and paid 50 and took them away from them? Let us know. Would you go for Harvey Barnes as well in the summer if he's up for grabs? If they go down, there's got to be two cracking players there that we could go in for, no doubt. Throw Tielemans in as a third there as well, three great players. But let us know what you guys think in the comments below, whether you think Leicester are in big trouble and Maddison is definitely on his way in the summer, and will he be in a black and white shirt next season. So this is Chris just signing off. Before I do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, smash the subscribe button. We'd love you to come and join us. If you like this video as well, really helps, gets it around YouTube, helps the channel grow. We'll be back with some more Morning Magpie news reports, I'm sure. There's plenty going on in the world of football and in the world of Newcastle United. We're always in there in the background somewhere, getting dragged into their conversations these days. So it's great to be a Newcastle fan. It's great to be interested in these top players, and hopefully, we can get a few more in the summer. And if we've got Champions League football as well, that's even better. So we'll catch you next time on Evermore, guys. Let's keep supporting that Team McCoy United. We'll see you later. Cheers.